Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Hermanson. I know it might seem cheesy or cliche, but if you've got a sleeping giant inside of you, or you just feel like you're made for more, then there's no coincidence you landed here on the Dream Life is Real Life podcast. Listen, as a girl from small town Wisconsin who decided to go all in to her dream life vision, I know how crazy it can feel to chase after wild ideas. Since leaving my 9-to-5 job in academics back in 2015 to becoming a yoga teacher, a life coach, and now a digital nomad, currently living in Merida, Mexico with my husband and Labradoodle, I know that all the cheesy cliches are true. I've watched a lot of my dream life become my real life right in front of my eyes. Oh, and I've learned a whole lot about sales, business, and marketing along the way, and I want to share all of that with you. So here, you can consider me your friend and mentor. As a certified business coach, success trainer, international speaker, author, and copywriter, I've helped hundreds of coaches and entrepreneurs build, scale, and enjoy their online businesses. So here on the show, you'll find the real people, concrete tactics, and weekly motivation and inspiration to make your dream life your real life. I'm going to let you into the nooks and crannies of these dream lives and dream businesses and offer lots of real talk along the way. Because to be a true leader in whatever you're endeavoring in your life and to create a legacy that you're proud of, you need a tribe lifting you up with you on the journey. And I've made it my mission to be that partner with you. Because after all, we are all in this together. By the way, if you'd like some help improving your business and life, then we just might be able to help. Head on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com to learn more about what we do and how I might be able to personally support you and just continue this conversation in making your dream life your real life. All right, let's get to it. All right, friends, we are in the presence today of our very own Lori Konkler. Lori is the powerhouse business success coach behind the Xennial Traveler Company. Back in 2016, she ditched her 9-to-5 corporate as a director of sales and marketing to seek out a new life of freedom, working on her time, at her pace, on her terms, from anywhere in the world. Now, through her elite coaching program, she helps entrepreneurs all over the globe successfully do exactly what she did, quickly launch, scale, and optimize their remote-based businesses to 10K months. Lori is also the author of the book Cash Flow Blueprint, which will be released later this month. When she isn't coaching, Lori likes to spend time with her husband, Ben, of course, going on exciting adventures to places like the Virgin Islands, New Zealand, and Mexico. She says, stop living life on other people's terms and start living in your happy place. I love that. So good to have you here and dive into this story, because what we didn't mention in that short bio is that you are from my neck of the woods, and we have a serendipitous meeting. We can tell that story sometime. from Wisconsin to where you are now, I always love hearing, your stories like this.
Awesome. Well, hello, my name is Lori. And, I guess if anybody truly or if there's anyone who truly understands the meaning of the words plot twist, it's definitely me. About 6.5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, after a short travel stint, for a much needed month-long vacation, my husband and I realized that we were really unhappy in our 9-to-5 corporate lives. Mm-hmm. And we were in Wisconsin at that time. It was winter. It was like 20 below zero. It was miserable. You obviously understand that, Hannah. Yep. So, we made the choice when we got back from that trip to just ultimately divorce that 9-to-5 life. And, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It was a long grind, trying to make that, dream a reality. But ultimately, we didn't go about it the right way at first. I'll say that. 3 months after making that decision, we were in the Caribbean. And we had started our, first couple of remote-based businesses, and we thought that we had a good plan, but we didn't. And we had felt stuck in that corporate life cycle. So we just wanted to really push forward with it. But, we found that once we started those businesses, we were a bit overwhelmed, a bit unsure of how to move forward and to really succeed. So, unsuccessfully at first, we, launched those businesses and we went up and down. And we ended up finding ourselves kind of, outmatched with our bills. The bills were more than what we were bringing in with our businesses. And we had to kind of go back to some 9-to-5 stints there for a while. But we definitely kept our goal ahead of us at all times. And after over a year and a half of on and off jobs, tears, traveling back and forth to the States, and, making a lot of mistakes, the light bulb sort of went off. And, I found a model that really began to work. And I got help to make that happen. And we got to a point where those bills no longer overshadowed our earnings. And we began to actually gain the freedom that we had been seeking. And it took a few years, but Here we are now to today, 4 successful businesses later, a couple of coaches and one very, very good coach who really helped me to get to where I am.
Oh my gosh, who?
Oh my gosh, who? Well, that would be Hannah Hermanson.
Yes, I entered the plot twist here. Yeah.
So, that it really just working with an effective coach made just the biggest difference in my life and in my business, and allowed me to move forward at, warp speed and to kind of skip a lot of those mistakes that I had previously made so that I can go forward and help other people do the same.
Well, there's so much honesty in that, right? Like it always does start with that decision. Like we're divorcing the life that we're flying back to. Great. Right. And then no matter how smart you are, or how much you've done before, or like how excited you are, the best laid plans are just the starting point to get you in action to move forward. Right. And like as entrepreneurs, there's no telling exactly how it's going to unfold or when it's going to happen. But I think that's really honest to say, yeah, it took ups and downs and we took on other things that, we didn't just rely on these businesses to be everything overnight. And I talk to a lot of people who are like starting their business and they'll be like, I don't know, things are getting tight, like you said, with bills or something, we've invested or, we've had whatever happens that makes money tight. And this question of, do I take on another role? Do I do some other projects? Am I like selling out? Am I not an entrepreneur? If I said I left the 9-to-5, but now I am kind of working for someone else again. And there's always a couple of things I ask people, like, number one, what's your mindset around this? Are you looking at this like, well, back to the cubicle life, it didn't work? Or are you looking at this as like a means to an end? Like sometimes you just go, yeah. Does that resonate?
Yes, so much.
And I don't usually listen to him, but a friend sent me this very Gary Vaynerchuk clip this week. So this is very timely. And Gary had listened to a bunch of college students tell him about their business idea. And they were all innovative, entrepreneurial, young, excited kids. And Gary listened to everyone. And then he said, whose business I'm the most excited about? It's not the one that you all cheered for. It's not the one that's the newest thing. It's not even the one that solves the biggest problem. It's the one where the guy said, I just took on 2 additional jobs to fund the first phase of this. Gary is like out here saying like he's always cheering you on, just like go for it, go all in. But you guys going all in does not mean that you just like blow up all of your poker chips, right?
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Yeah. So I just had to kind of like underscore that a little bit because I know it's one of those things where you say, I quit 9-to-5. I'm never going back. I'm never working for someone else. When in reality, they might be there might be opportunities on your path to, keep you afloat, keep you paying bills, keep you feeling stable and secure as a means to an end, but not as a forever thing.
Right, exactly. It's like you said, it's about the mindset that goes into that and how you choose to look at it, because ultimately we all choose our future, whether we consciously realize that or not. And if we choose to look at it as that stepping stone and as an opportunity to help us reach that end goal, then we're going to still be able to reach that end goal. But if we're just like, oh, I have to go back to 9 to 5, I guess, this is over, whatever. It was a nice while it lasted, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And there's a lot you can learn, right? Like I totally made the same mistakes as like, okay, I'm all in. I'm only doing this for a little while. And then you realize, oh, I'm going to need some support. I'm going to need a mentor. I'm going to need some more cash flow. I'm going to need to diversify income a little bit. And there's a lot you can learn. So like, Lori, I know you took things that you knew you could do, right? Like sales, marketing, organization, and you connected with a lot of people. You learned a lot of new skills about marketing and like the digital world. Then you get to then directly apply to what you want to make, right?
Right, exactly.
So lots of good ways to look at that plot twist of going back to work with someone else. And so I want to focus today, we kind of hinted that I've helped you formulate your online coaching business as one of the things that you run. And I'd really love to focus on that today in the work that you're doing in your coaching business. So tell us a little bit about how all the random pieces and ideas and bits of Lori like brought you to the coaching space.
Well, it was kind of a long road, and I kind of just stumbled upon coaching. I had heard of coaches in the past and, just kind of skeptical. I'll admit, before I was a coach, I was skeptical of coaches. Like, really? Like, you really need somebody to help you do that? But, after, a layoff, I was actually, which happened in one of my back and forths, in the 9 to 5 world, I ended up being laid off, and I sought out the help of a career coach kind of by accident. I saw an opportunity and there was actually some free sessions, and I took her up on that. And that was my first experience working with a coach. And at the time I thought I was getting into that, to help me figure out my career. Because at that point I'll be honest, at that point of thinking, maybe this just isn't it. Like, maybe I just can't succeed as an entrepreneur. I need to figure out my life, job wise. But that ended up leading me to realize like the power of coaching and having that help. And she did help me to actually realize that, hey, I not only do I want to continue being an entrepreneur, but like the power behind having that mentorship really changed my perspective on how I could accomplish things. And it really set me off on the right path. And I had been working on my travel blog actually for a while, and, had been thinking that might have been the means to my end, for being able to live a remote-based lifestyle. But I actually realized through that instead I wanted that lifestyle, but what I really wanted more than anything was to be able to help other people achieve it, because I had come to a point where I had achieved it. Mm-hmm. After I got out of that coaching relationship, mm-hmm. I actually found myself flourishing in my other businesses, mm-hmm. and I wanted to help other people to be able to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally relate. I remember when I was in a yoga class and I was like, a life coach? Like, that's an option? As an academic advisor at the time, I was like, that is not on the list of 50 majors. Like, how can you be at yoga at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday? Tell me more. And then, that kind of opening up this whole world of like entrepreneurship and coaching, and is all about, helping people, and whatever you've learned in your life, being able to look back and say, hey, here are the tried and true tricks that might be able to save you a couple of years of figuring it out on your own. So I'd love to dive into some of those steps and what it is you were able to look back on and now teach other people. Like, how did you flourish? How did you make that digital nomad life happen? And what are some of the steps that we can take, listeners might be able to get started with?
Well, I guess first step one really is recognizing that desire to do something different with your life, because I think a lot of people kind of go about their life just thinking that, you have to, especially here in the US, that you have to live a certain way. You have to have your 2.5 kids, your 2 cars, your picket fence and everything, and you work until you're 65, and that's just it. So step one is recognizing that you don't have to live the life that people are telling you to live, that you can actually go out and do something different and do what you want to do with your life, and that you are capable. So I guess, I like to say that's step one, is having that, realization. But then, really next step is to...
I would just say, I think everyone listening to this podcast has done step one, right? Like, you don't need to question if your dream is big enough or if you've thought about it long enough or it's real enough for you. Like, if you have found yourself to this conversation and you're 10, 15 minutes in, step one, check. All right, let's keep going now.
So you're on your way. That's great. So, step two really is becoming really clear with yourself and understanding your blockers and the things that may actually hold you back from achieving that goal. And that tends to be a lot of times mindset blockers, so whether it's about, mindset blockers around your skills or your abilities, it doesn't matter, because, a lot of people don't realize that they themselves are what is standing in the way of that dream life. And we are so often our worst enemies, and whether it's confidence or fear of not being good enough or fear of failure or even failure or fear of success. Those are kind of the most common things that I've seen, since starting coaching.
Yes, and it's so human. It's so human. Like, you've done multiple businesses, and now we are looking to add like new offers and make changes and like take things in a new direction. And it was amazing to watch myself do all of the stuff I tell everyone else not to, right? It was like, okay, I launched this idea, like, we're going to do it. Here are the action steps. And then my brain was like, well, it's going to get too big. You're not going to be able to do this. This won't work. What about that? No, you should do it. And it was like, wow. Like, anytime you do something new, those dudes living in your brain want to keep you safe and just stay right where you are. So whether it's your first business or your 5th business, like, just know that's part of the process. You're going to run up.
Exactly.
I shouldn't, not now, why me? All that. Great. Like you said, Lori, like, cool. That means you've started. Awesome. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, that's exactly, and it happens to everybody. And, like you just said, it doesn't matter if it's your first business or your 5th business, but learning how to recognize that and manage it right from the beginning, that is like such a key part of success as an entrepreneur, and what I teach to people, because if you can't figure out the mindset piece, it doesn't matter how good you are at everything else. It will ultimately cause you to fail at some point.
Yes. Highlight that in the show notes. Yes.
The next thing, is really understanding the concept of an MVP, and not, most valuable player, but the minimum viable product, because done does not always mean perfect. And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us find ourselves as perfectionists a bit, and we think I can't release this until it's perfect. I can't do that until it's perfect. But sometimes just taking the action is really all we need in order to keep moving and keep going. And waiting until everything, is perfect doesn't do yourself or your clients any justice. It really doesn't, because what you might end up putting out as perfect may not be what your clients wanted in the first place.
How many courses are in your closet of like things that and I'm talking like myself personally, right? Like, I'm going to do this training, I'm going to do this thing, everyone's going to want it. Like, and then they don't, right? Like, I have this whole graveyard of landing pages and boot camps and all these things I made because I wanted them. I wanted to do it, but no one else wanted it, right? And that's where like that viable offer, which I typically recommend starting with one-on-one coaching, right? Like, show up for one person, be one day ahead of them. Show up to your coaching calls every week and follow the path. Because if you're a true coach, you have a ton of tools and you can trust yourself. Like, I will present this tool at the right time for this right person.
Right.
You do this with 10 people and you start repeating yourself. And it's like, okay, great. I'm starting to see what this course is or what this path is. But I can't just sit in my own head or at the pool or with my laptop and just know those things most of the time. You got to hit the sidewalk, get some real experience. So first viable offer, I recommend one-on-one coaching for this audience. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's just putting yourself out there, you can tweak as you go and, you're going to make mistakes, but ultimately your failures are what are going to teach you, the path. There's a book. Oh, that's one of my favorites. It's The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And just the title itself says it, like the obstacles that we faced are often the way to finding our success. So MVPs. So, and kind of around all of what I just said, really something too that I see a lot of people missing, and that I would say is one of the top 5 steps that you need in order to start your business and to leave your 9-to-5 is to set measurable goals. Many of you hopefully have heard of SMART goals, which are, specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable, depending on the person. I've seen both, relevant and timely. And, this is something that I work with people to do, but you should really be looking at, okay, fine, your 5-year plan, but then your 1-year plan, but then take those goals and then actually chunk them down into bite-sized achievable pieces that are, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and even daily, so that your steps and it doesn't become so overwhelming, because that is another thing, another blocker, overwhelm, that I think gets so many of us. And again, it's whether you're 1 or you're 5 or, your millionth business, you always are going to kind of face a little bit of overwhelm when you're launching a new thing. So being able to break things down in that way has helped so many people. And I know helped me when I was starting out to be able to do that.
Well, and I remember that. I remember being like, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but we need to start tracking your data. And like, yes, absolutely. Like spreadsheets, like let's break it down. You were so ahead of the curve when it was like, we can't just like, make sales calls and like ask people and just like throw a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and just like then hope that we guess what worked. And I think that is something that really puts you ahead, is that you have that like project management mindset, and that things aren't just like, you can't scale or repeat results that are random. Right. And so, I love that we're bringing this up because, again, whether you're just starting or you're in the middle of launching something, like find some numbers and data that you can learn from, and not just like hope. Hope is not what you want to be tracking. You need it, sure.
Yes.
That's something so many people miss when they're just like, I'm just going to take action and make it happen. Get some numbers under,
the data behind it.
So for folks who are doing the digital nomad life, what are some of the numbers or things that you recommend people take a look at?
In terms of achieving the nomad lifestyle, or?
Yeah, 5-year goals, can you give us an example or just help us think about how we might break that down for our specific businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So, for instance, let's say, you want to become a digital nomad, and hopefully you'll be able to reach that goal in less than 5 years. So maybe you set a 1-year goal that, 1 year from now, I want to be leaving my 9-to-5 and I want to be in Portugal. Okay. So take that and you break that down even further to, those quarterly goals. What do you need in the next 3 months? What do you need to do in order to be on track to actually be in Portugal 1 year from now with your business? Realistically, like, what do you need to do? And then you take that and you brain dump literally everything that you can think of that goes into that. And then you can take it and break that down by the month. And then you would have people actually then take that, into the smaller, more like weekly and daily actions to set a plan of action for yourself and to set measurable milestones throughout that process to actually be able to achieve those things. Because really anybody can become a digital nomad these days. It's just about having a clear vision of what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then doing the work to figure out what steps that you need to actually achieve it. And, I'm all about the law of attraction, but you do have to put in work still. It doesn't mean that you just put the vibes out to the universe and then all of a sudden you're going to be in Portugal without doing any work. That's not how it works. You have to do the work.
Yes. And the law of attraction gets engaged by action and by vision, right? I just like, you're speaking my language so clearly right now, because we set these intentions, right? Like we make an action plan to just get us into action, right? Like you said, the overwhelm of like, oh my God, I have to be in Portugal in a year. Like, do I start with packing my bags? Do I need an LLC? Like you just become like paralyzed by the overwhelm of what that actually means. So for me, what this has looked like, I mean, we've done this multiple times because our vision changes. When we lived in California, we had one set of needs and numbers that we needed to pay our bills and do what we wanted to do with life. And then moving to Mexico, it's like, whoa, we can reevaluate, what it's going to mean to save for a house in Mexico as opposed to California and what we need to do to get there. But I wouldn't have been able to like make this plan 5 years ago. Okay. So it's that like set the intention, take the actions, but we set these big goals. We set these metrics so we can figure out if that's the right thing or not. And if we're on the right, if we're measuring the right things, we're going towards the right things. It's this quote that, we set goals, not to get there, but to figure out who we need to become on the way.
I love that. Yes.
And I think that's true of like breaking down numbers too. Like it's not to like, you have to hit it that month. It's like, let's figure out what we need to do to make that real.
So true. All of what you said there, just spot on. And I think that, again, it seems so unrealistic to so many people, I think, and they do get overwhelmed with, and stepping back here, I see so many people when, I am talking to them, before they enter into a coaching relationship, and, I ask them how things are going in their business, like, oh, well, it's going well. And I, just ordered my business cards and I'm creating my logo, and it's like, okay, but, what are you doing to actually like make this a reality? Because your logo isn't going to bring you clients, and it's not going to put you on a beach, in Portugal with Mai Tai in your hand. It's, it's just not, you're going to have to do more than that. Again, it's why I got into this in the first place, is because I want to help people stop making those mistakes, and I'm sure that's why you got into coaching in the first place too, is because you wanted to help people stop making those mistakes that you see them making. It's just like, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get there like that.
Yeah. Wow. So amazing, right? Like you start with that vision that like, there's something inside of me. I want to do something new, different. And the laptop lifestyle like looks pretty good. I might want to be set on that path. And then you start to really understand like what it is that you can create, what do you actually have that's a viable marketing, MVP, you called it, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. And then you got to break it down. Like you said, you've got the vision, law of attractions on your side, but what are those concrete actions and metrics that you can be taking ownership of to keep that momentum, right? You're on the path, you have some clarity, you have some direction, but it's that breakdown of numbers, I think, that really helps us stay the course. And sometimes that means taking on things you didn't expect or changing the route a little bit, as travelers know.
Definitely. And that's how I ended up in Arizona. I mean, that in a worldwide pandemic for like a year when, like sometimes you just have to take a step back and you figure things out and what actually makes the most sense. And then you have those metrics that that you need to hit in order to be where it is that you truly want to be.
Yeah. And you've kind of hinted at this a few times throughout our conversation here, but I just want to get it like direct from you. What do you feel personally is the biggest benefit of having a coach?
Well, honestly, it's just having that accountability, I think, is the biggest thing. And it doesn't matter if it's me, if it's Hannah, or if it's anyone else, really. It's just getting a coach. It's like having a paid mentor, boss, friend, partner, all in one. And it's just, it's life changing because that person has gone through what you've been through, what you're going through, and what you are going to go through if you don't hire them. And they have made those mistakes that you're trying to avoid. So, and what I do see a lot of people say is like, I can't afford it. Which just like kind of breaks my heart, because I want to just like shake them and be like, you can. I thought that, first it too, when I first thought about making that type of an investment, but you're making an investment in yourself and in your future. And, if you hire a coach, oftentimes you can actually you can make that investment before you're done with that program. You can make that back just as a result of working with somebody that can help get you there faster, and having that accountability, and somebody that's actually like pushing you to achieve your goals and pushing you out of your comfort zone and giving you the tools that you need to achieve things. And I do think that it's great to be able to find somebody that, you connect with. Of course, you don't have to have, that connection that we necessarily had where, we're both from Wisconsin, like towns apart, and we literally worked on the same campus, like buildings apart, not everybody's going to have that level of connection, but having someone that, when they speak, it really resonates with you, because you're going to be able to go into that relationship knowing that you can really count on that person, and that they get you, and that they are going to help you and hold you accountable for really achieving your goals and your dreams. So,
wow. Yeah. Here. I totally, just echo everything you're saying. We're not doing as much of the coaching here in our business anymore, but I'll always have coaches or multiple coaches myself, because this isn't the classic traveler mindset, but I will take the shortcut anytime I can. Yeah, I enjoy the journey, but when the journey is like, messy and hard and lonely, then that's not what we signed up for. So incredible. So many great takeaways and action steps that folks can start taking to really make their dream life their real life, and escape the 9-to-5 to live that remote life. So for folks who are with us, they're ready to find their MVP, or they're ready to start tracking and taking, tangible actions forward. How can they continue the conversation with you?
Well, they can follow me on Instagram. My tag is Xennial Traveler. That is XENNIAL Traveler, US spelling. And I have to clarify that when you have a global audience, which is TRAVELER. Wow. Spelling without looking at it.
You are good to go on to the next round. Very good. Yeah. The spelling
Go ahead and find me there. Shoot me a DM, introduce yourself, and we can really talk about how to help you take those next steps.
Yeah. And always of service, Lori here. So definitely we'll make sure we have links to Xennial Traveler on Instagram, so you can, continue the conversation. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for you. Come on down whenever you're ready. Okay. All right, friends, I'll be back next week with more inspiration to help you make your dream life your real life. And don't forget to hop on over to dreamlifeisreallife.com/show for specific goodies that we talked about today, and access to continue the conversation with these guests as well as myself. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next time.